Hi everyone, welcome back to the Simple Souls podcast. I'm your host Leslie and I hope you are all having a great day. It feels good to be here again. I know it's been a long time since I last posted, but we do have some interesting videos coming up soon, so I hope you stick with me through them all. We're returning to our growth topic, so today is about the happiness and healthy mindset and emotional intelligence. It's more commonly known as living a clean lifestyle, but I'm sure we've all seen it and I'm here for most of it. I feel like people only associate this with those who are going to the gym and living a pure lifestyle, and then those who work on their traumas or do more self-care related hobbies are put on another side, but generally it's all combined. We all want to better ourselves, we all want to have better circumstances and put this unhealthy weight behind us. Unhealthy weight meaning stress, peer pressure, grief, and maybe an actual health problem. By the way, I will update you guys somewhere in this episode about me since I put it out there and in case anyone was wondering, so stick with me to the end. I know it is talked about a lot, but COVID did change everyone in one way or another, and it may have been the breaking point for all of us, but it made people comfortable with talking about being at their lowest or struggling, or how they took advantage of that time frame, which also introduced the idea of doing more that makes you happy and creating a healthier, clean lifestyle, since we've seen how much it took to bring ourselves back. I like to add though that not everyone struggled during the pandemic. It is important to accept that people have different coping skills and perspectives. And you're only going to hear similar struggles in your environment and from the people that you hang around with, but that does not mean there isn't any difference outside of what you see or hear. I have been wrapping my head around how being unhappy and discontented is supposed to motivate you. I was watching an interview and this guy brought up the fact that negativity is supposed to be used as a warning, saying something needs to change or as inspiration to change, but we tend to make ourselves think that negativity means we have a meaningless or sad life. But that's false, and unfortunately it's now seen as a social norm to just talk about toxicity or negativity or anything really as if it were nothing. As time has progressed, I think it now carries more value or interest in one's future and well-being versus the beginning when it was more about meeting the standards to be included in this group. And you can still see this today as people are demonstrating this happy life of aesthetics but not really being genuine. It's good that people want to better themselves physically, emotionally, and or mentally, but there is an extent to which you might be trapped in the ideal of having everything together or being considered unstable. There's no perfect way of healing or knowing what you need when you're dealing with something. It's honestly just moving forward and questioning how you're becoming a better person or how you've adjusted to this new trigger or situation in your life. It's been a good while since I cried or felt anxious, and I think my big change happened when I started to run and simply by moving my body. When I was in a depressive state, I really didn't do anything, and if I did, it was the bare minimum. However, I was at one of my marathon training runs and this car crash happened, which wasn't bad, but it shook me. And since I got used to not having any recent anxiety, it felt like everything rushed in me again. I really didn't know what to think or what to do because I was in some type of shock, and it scared me because I told myself I was fine and that I was finally over it. When you have any kind of trauma or situation that was very draining for you and you get to the point where you can finally say you're okay and you can move forward now, it's also saying that you're trying to push it away like it's a task you just finished. But you don't ever forget about mentally impacting situations, and reaching that point actually means now you have the control of when to react and how to deal with so and so. For me, it's always been about keeping my peace and myself in place for what I'm working towards. Like every other person, I would get frustrated and mad with myself and with almost everything because I just needed to do well, or I saw that I wasn't trying or doing the most to my ability. With emotional intelligence, you begin to point out your strengths and weaknesses, you know that context is important, and you learn to set expectations and boundaries for your well-being. And yes, this does go hand in hand with egoistic issues that people may have, but saving that side for another time, I feel that people should know by now who is being genuine around them. My piece of advice for expectations and boundaries is that you should not feel bad for doing things you need to be happier or at ease, but I think if you do feel bad, it's because you're setting these things out of pettiness and not to look out for yourself. Another big thing is judging. Judging is what keeps people in the dark and doing all this negative stuff and keeping it in too, since the majority of the time no one is going to express it. You shouldn't tolerate or accept anything that is being disruptive for you, but you also shouldn't push or neglect this person or thing without understanding why you're being bugged and why this person is coming off this way. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm still trying to work on this, but I'm trying to focus on people and their actions separately. At least for the people I don't necessarily know, because then I won't put this mistake as how I see them. And following that, it's better to communicate it. In that same interview, I liked how this guy said, I'm not judging you, I'm angry at what you're doing, but I'm not mad at you because I feel like you might need a little bit of help. I know this does not work in every situation, but whenever I share things, I kind of leave it to the person seeing this on how they want to take it. For example, if you felt connected, then there is something you need to talk about or address with someone. And if you didn't, then this is an example of alternatives that you can use that can help with mastering your emotions and your mind. The quote for this week's episode is, I'm not going against having a growth mindset. I just think there's a lot of detail that goes into understanding it because, again, it's not only about working out or becoming more aware. Now for my quick update. I feel great. I've gotten a lot of blood work and MRIs, and they've all proved that I am getting better. I actually got an MRI a few days ago, and that will determine how much longer I have to take the medication, and will also determine how things work out with my college plan since my doctor and everything are here. But overall, my little tumor has made very good progress. I haven't had any anxiety episodes or felt any type of depression, so I'm very grateful and happy about that. It's actually been a week since I ran the LA Marathon, and I'm really glad I was able to go through with it because at the beginning of my training, I was still kind of sick and shaky with how much I allowed myself to do. Then getting closer to the marathon, my dad was worried and would tell me that I'm getting really drained out and would blame running for making me go through some rough patches with pain and stuff. But I also knew that it was helping me balance out my hormones and levels and overall making me happier. So just because you struggle with something doesn't mean it's bad for you. Wrapping this up, it takes time to understand yourself and to know the best way to take care of yourself mentally and maybe physically too. So take the time you need, because I was always trying to rush my body to get back to my healthy self, and mentally too with self-sabotaging, but that does not help. So embrace your good and bad moments. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. I highly encourage you to subscribe, like, and share it to anyone you think of that needs to hear this. I hope the rest of your week is good, and I'll talk to you again very soon.